Greetings. Thank you for joining me. I'm Tom Atkinson. I'm with the Bladen Church of Christ in Elizabethtown, North Carolina, and I appreciate you joining me today. I hope you'll subscribe to our channel so you will get alerts whenever we post new videos. We're new at this video teaching. I'm a little slow about getting some of the lessons posted. I've been having some video issues that I'm trying to work out, and hopefully I'll get all that resolved and we'll move a little faster in the future. But in the meantime, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to write. You can leave questions or comments in the box below, or you can email me at thefocusofourfaith@gmail.com. That is one expression, thefocusofourfaith, lowercase, @gmail.com. And you can write me, and I want to hear anything you have to say. I'd love to hear from you. It is Easter weekend, and so a lot of people are very busy with family activities and so forth, and fortunately, it is one of two times of the year that people think about Jesus when they may not ever think about it, Easter and Christmas. And they think about Jesus during those times, and I'm grateful for anything that leads people to think about Jesus. And hopefully, some people that are not accustomed to thinking and reflecting on him and what he's about will not be that way anymore after they experience a service in worship on this Sunday. A lot of people go only at this time of year to worship, and that's a shame. But hopefully you'll have a blessed and encouraged holiday weekend, however you spend it. Well, what about death? We rule out near-death experience, rule out reincarnation. Hebrews 10:27 clearly, in my mind, strikes reincarnation off the list. It's appointed unto man once to die, and after that the judgment. When we die, we will be, once we're really truly gone, the next big event will be judgment. And whatever that entails. But what happens in that process? I mean, when I die, what will I go through? And that's the big question. Well, one thing's for sure, and I want to address this to start with. I won't be asleep. My consciousness will still go on. Now, one of the theories that I want to throw out the window from the very get-go in a discussion of this nature is the idea of so-called soul sleep. And essentially it means that when a person dies, his consciousness, their awareness is turned off, and they cease to be for a period of time. Soul sleep, known as conditional immorality, it's a Friday, and it feels more like a Monday. It's known as conditional immortality is what it's known as. And soul sleep basically says that when somebody dies, their consciousness is turned off, and it will not be turned on again until Jesus comes back. Well, the problem is the Bible doesn't teach that. It's not taught anywhere in Scripture. And the one verse, or a few verses that people like to go for in the Bible to try to prove this, is one of which is Ecclesiastes 9:5. For the living know that they will die, but the dead know nothing, and they have no more reward, for the memory of them is forgotten. Well, let's take that statement. Where are these people at that he's talking about? Go back to chapter 1, verses 1 through 3 of Ecclesiastes chapter 1, and Solomon says that he is talking about life under the sun. Not life after this life, no so-called before or pre-existence for humans, But in this world, under the sun that we see outside this building every day, in this life, the memory of the dead is soon forgotten. They have no more business in this world. That's all he's saying. He's not saying that when they die, they cease to be aware and they're no longer conscious. He's saying that under the sun, in this world, when people die, they're finished. That's it. That's why I get tickled sometimes in some of these shows about ghosts, because people talk about people supposedly hanging around to finish unfinished business. The problem with that is Ecclesiastes 9:5 says that the dead have no more business in this world. It's over for them here. Doesn't mean that they're not conscious over there. That's a different issue altogether. Now, yes, the Bible does speak of sleep as a metaphor for death, but that's an ancient metaphor, but it's speaking of the body. And it's not talking about the consciousness of a person. Look on the Mount of Transfiguration, Luke 9. In Luke 9, Jesus goes up to the mountain, and he is transfigured before Peter, James, and John. He takes Peter, James, and John with him, and they go up to the mountain, and it says that he was changed. He was transfigured before them, and his clothes were whiter than any light could possibly be. Brilliant. But he met with two individuals, people who have long since been dead, before he met with them and since he met with them. But he met with Moses and Elijah. And he says two men were talking with him, Moses and Elijah, verse 30 of Luke 9, who appeared in glory and spoke of his departure, which he was about to accomplish at Jerusalem. See, what it's talking about there, of course, is that Moses and Elijah, two great leaders from the old covenant, appear to Jesus. And they discuss his, literally, Luke uses the Greek word exodon, his departure, his leaving. Like a new Moses, he's going to lead his people to salvation. But Moses and Elijah are anything but asleep when they meet with him on the mountain. They're very conscious. And all through Scripture, we have the assumption that when you die, you go somewhere else, and you're conscious somewhere else. In Luke 23, verse 43, Jesus said to the thief on the cross, "Today you will be with me in paradise." Today you're going to be with me in paradise. And that doesn't sound like he's saying that we're going to go somewhere and go to sleep. That we'll be asleep together somewhere. No, we'll be in paradise together. And Paul says that for me to depart and be with Christ is far better. Philippians 2, verse 23. He wanted to leave this world and go and be with Jesus. That doesn't sound like soul sleep. No, when we die, we're very much conscious. In Luke chapter 16, we have the story of a certain rich man, starting in verse 19 of Luke 16. We have the story of a rich man and the story of a poor man. The rich man and Lazarus. Lazarus was a poor man. Now they both die. One lifts up his eyes in torment, the other in paradise, or in Abraham's bosom. That's what the text says. So they go from one existence to the other, and yet they're conscious. Now, I realize this is a parable, but parables generally have real events as their points of emphasis. A sower goes out to sow. We see it every day. A woman loses a coin and sweeps up a house to find the coin. We've all probably done things like that. real events. And so when Jesus tells about the rich man and Lazarus, he's actually trying to emphasize that if your brothers, because Lazarus said, Lord, send somebody to me with water to dip, just to dip, their fingers on my tongue to cool it in this torment. And Jesus says it can't be done. There's a great gulf fixed between you and Lazarus. So you can't go from one to the other. So he says, well, send somebody back to tell my brothers about this awful place, because I don't want them to come here. And Jesus says, if they don't believe Moses and the prophets, they won't believe even if somebody rose from the dead. And that's the point of that parable. Jesus is going to rise from the dead. And the same people who rejected him beforehand will reject him still afterwards, because they didn't believe Moses and the prophets. They don't believe Moses and the prophets. They're not going to believe Jesus when he comes back. And they don't. And so what happens when we die? Well, we're very much conscious, we're very much alive, but where do we go? And what is that about? And that's what we're going to spend more time on. These other theories are all interesting, and all of them merit a certain amount of discussion and research, of course. But the Bible is definitive in terms of life and death, and it tells us what we need to know. 2 Peter 1 verse 3, all things that we need for life and godliness have been given to us through the knowledge of him who called us. And where is that knowledge revealed? It's revealed in this book. It's right there. And so I want to know what it says. So in our next video, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about words that are used in the New Testament to describe what happens after life. What is afterlife going to be like? And I would encourage you to read places like Jude and 2 Peter and Luke. Well, I encourage you to read all the Scripture, but if you want to look specifically about things that relate to this topic, read those verses, read those books, and be ready to discuss or learn about paradise, about Tartarus, the place of darkness, Gehenna, and other such terms that are used to describe what happens after this life, or describe where people will go after they leave this life. I'm going to end it right there. I'm having some kind of issues with the audio on this, and I don't know if it's my camera or exactly what it is, so I'm going to end it here. And Lord willing, when I pick this up in our next video, I will have had that problem resolved. But in the meantime, thank you for watching. Be sure to share our videos with others. And like I said, drop me a note. I'd love to hear from you. And in the meantime, I hope you have a very blessed and safe holiday weekend. And we'll see you next time. God bless.